Everyone. Welcome to the CoStar News Hotels podcast. I'm News Editor Sean McCracken here with Ashley McNeil, Vice President of Federal Government Affairs at the American Hotel and Lodging Association, and also Chair of the H-2B Horse Coalition, which we'll get into in a little bit. Ashley, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good so far. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this conversation. So obviously what we're here to talk about today is kind of the status, the efforts around the H-2B visa program and why that's important for the hotel industry. So let's start there. It's obviously something that impacts a lot of hoteliers, so I imagine a lot of listeners are familiar with it. But for those who aren't, can we kind of start with an explanation of what these are and why we're talking about it so much today?
H-2Bs are a temporary legal guest worker visa program that's capped annually at 66,000. Employers are required to try and hire American workers to even use the program. So it does not take jobs from Americans, and it's really relied upon for our seasonal and resort properties.
Yeah, so just to be really specific for listeners, because obviously it's the H-1B visa program that's been in headlines a lot, and that's skilled workers. That's the one with the fees have gone up significantly. This is a different thing, although, obviously connected in the sense that it's foreign workers. But as you're saying, so the idea is it's seasonal programs. It's not year round, and it's kind of the supplement, not to replace, correct?
Correct. The visa is for 10 months. The workers go home. Many of our properties say that their employees have been coming back for over 10 years. They're a part of the family at this point. And while it's classified as low skill, they are skilled jobs, culinary, food and beverage. There's a certain skill level that goes into a lot of those roles.
So yeah, so why is it in focus today, I guess is the next question. It seems like we talk about it kind of annually at this point, but what's the issue at the table at the moment?
The issue is that hotels still are short about 200,000 jobs. And with the upcoming decade of events, I mean, we need workers. We want guests to have a great experience.
hmm So so obviously AHLA is doing some advocacy work around this. Can you kind of explain what the H-2B Workforce Coalition is and what you guys are trying to accomplish?
Sure. The H2B coalition is comprised of several industries. Think landscaping, golf courses, um, outdoor amusement parks. All those industries rely on a seasonal workforce to be able to execute in fully operation. And so we are constantly advocating on the Hill to get permanent cap relief. As it stands, we have annual cap relief, or we fight for annual cap relief, which is why this conversation is always top of mind. But we'd love to get a permanent fix so we don't have to keep talking about it.
Yeah, and just to once again be specific for our listeners, I mean, kind of what's the idea with the cap? Like, what is it? What's the limit, and why is it not kind of meeting the needs of employers?
So, first of all, the limit was put in place in 1990.
hmm
And so it's obviously woefully insufficient for current demands. The
hmm
66,000 is broken into 33,000 for the first half of the fiscal year and 33,000 for the second half of the fiscal year. So think
hmm
of your ski resorts and ski properties. They obviously have high demand. And then your, summer vacation resorts that rely on it. We want a cap that is tied to demand.
hmm
Every employer has to talk to the Department of Labor where they certify the number of open jobs that are available. And if we
hmm
were doing that, we would have 150,000 visas, 175,000 visas every year, based on the need of open jobs.
hmm Yeah, and then obviously, if that was the case, if there was some metric to say there was X amount of demand, you need X amount of employees, you wouldn't have to go back and kind of argue the case every single year of like we have X amount of openings and it's not meeting that need, correct?
Correct. And then, I mean, guests feel it. You might go to a property and the restaurant's not open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're only open for
Hmm.
breakfast. You've gone to properties where there is no room service. There might not be a bartender at the pool because they're just understaffed.
Hmm. So, I mean, obviously, a hotel industry like any is a street corner business. This is something that affects certain areas, certain properties more than others. Like, where are we seeing the biggest impact from the un inability to get the number of H-2B workers that we'd want?
Specifically, it's in our rural areas because they don't have the population to
Hmm.
sustain a workforce during high season. So they really struggle. Think of resorts in Michigan or Minnesota and in Georgia. They have real population issues.
Hmm. So the obvious kind of counter argument you get on anything like this is, well, why can't Americans do these jobs, right? There's people out there who need to work, and if these are like, why can't we just connect those people? Like, what's the response to that?
Well, an independent study found that Americans don't want these jobs.
Hmm.
And years ago, they used to be jobs that college students would fill or teachers would fill. But with shoulder seasons, those folks just aren't available. They're still working, they're still in school. And summer season starts in May, depending on your location, and goes until October. So the June, July, and August timeframe, it just isn't realistic anymore.
Yeah. I am curious. So you mentioned like obviously a lot of these jobs were, at one point college students. Who are these kind of H-2B workers that we're trying to get? I mean, where do they come from? What's kind of the demographic makeup there?
Many of them are Jamaican. And a part of the program, there are a lot of folks from the Northern Triangle countries.
Mhm,
And then places, in the Caribbean where they are known for their hospitality, which is why we frequent the Caribbean so much.
mhm, mhm. So, I think you were just referencing it. Obviously, the coalition put out or, released the results of a finding recently. Can you kinda walk me through that, what the major bullet points are of what you guys discovered kind of looking at this program with, the width and breadth that you did?
Sure. Well, one of the things we found was that H2Bs increase wages for everyone else.
Mhm,
Another, again, as I stated, that it does not take away from Americans. And then that it creates 2 to 4 additional jobs for every H2B worker.
mhm. So I guess the thrust of that is if your argument is that it's limiting opportunity for American workers, that it's it's literally the opposite, correct?
Correct.
So where are you guys kind of at in the advocacy effort? Like what are you doing both as HLA as the coalition? Like what's the effort like today to kind of resolve this in a way that's good for the industry?
Oh, I'm up on Capitol Hill all the time, talking to members, talking to staff, talking to senators, talking to the admin, um, just advocating on this issue. And I think when you break it down and humanize the program, people are far more understanding. Even if they
Mhm.
don't feel like it's in their district, they start to get it. And
Mhm.
that is the education piece that is really needed. Every year on Capitol Hill, there's new staff, there are new members, they're being overwhelmed with information. But
Yeah.
once people understand, I mean, we have bipartisan support in the House and in the Senate.
Mhm. Yeah, and obviously this specifically, 2025 was a year of pretty significant change in Washington and Capitol Hill. Like, do you feel like is that more of an opportunity for you guys, or is that a hindrance that, like you're saying that they're being deluged with information on, any number of advocacy and lobbying groups?
I'm hopeful that since the president's a hotelier, that we can finally get some permanent cap relief.
Hmm. And there has been, I mean, I'm sure you keep up on this much more than I do, but there was some indication from the White House at some point that obviously the tenor of immigration is one taking a specific tack these days, but that they were eyeing some relief for both hospitality and farm workers, correct?
There has been a lot of back and forth, so hopefully, um, we get it done.
Hmm. So who do you have in your corner on this? I mean, do you feel like you're building momentum?
I do, with the change in administration, we've had some delays with processing of visas and releasing of supplemental visas. And I
Hmm.
think we were really able to utilize our champions to make the phone calls at DHS and at the White House to understand, so they would understand how important this issue is to constituents and to American businesses.
Hmm. So, kind of similar to what I was asking before. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot going on in Washington. I mean, this week the big news is obviously the shutdown, but there's been any number of big moving parts. Are you confident that an issue like H-2B visas, which obviously hugely impactful to the businesses that it impacts, might kind of fall down the pecking order of things that get addressed?
I think it is might not be a priority. I think the priority is still on securing the border, but I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to knock on doors every day so that we can finally get some relief for our members.
So, speaking of those members, then, like, if hoteliers listening to this say, like, "Oh, this is an issue that impacts me," what can they do? What can, individual business people or people who are passionate about this issue kind of do to get out there and move things in the direction you guys would like to see?
Call your member of Congress. Tell them you're understaffed. Tell them what your needs are. Tell them how it's impacting your business. Hotels bring so much tax revenue in the local economy. I mean, it would be detrimental to not have them properly staffed and running at full capacity.
It kind of gets back to what you're saying before, right? That getting those kind of actual human messages and showing people that this is a real world issue, kind of that breaks through the noise a bit, right?
It does.
Which seems so like, I don't know, I feel like maybe I'm jaded, but it feels so like old timey that that's still the thing that actually accomplishes things in Washington, but it also makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're elected by the people, so they need to respond to the people.
Hmm. So, in your mind, then, a year from now, what do you think the conversation around this is going to be like? Do you expect to make significant or meaningful process or progress, or do you think that this is going to be kind of a long-term issue to tackle?
I hope I'm not talking about this next year, but realistically, I hope that um, the legislation that was passed in this year's appropriations bill, I hope that stands. I hope
Hmm.
that we are increasing the number of champions that we have, calling the White House, telling them that this needs to be a priority, and so that we can achieve permanent cap relief.
Hmm. So, I mean, while I have you on here, obviously your job extends beyond just the H-2B piece of it. What do you kind of see as the big issues for the industry right now? What are the major things that you're hoping to tackle?
Well, one of the things we just tackled was a lot of advocacy for the One Big Beautiful Bill. And I
Mhm,
think it's important that we are educating our members on how they can take advantage of the things that are in that bill.
mhm,
Obviously, we're in a government shutdown, so that means that H-2B applications aren't being processed. Is
mhm,
that going to delay our hotels from getting their workers? I don't know. Probably not. But we don't know how long the shutdown's going to take. And then
Is
we're
there, I'm sorry for interrupting, but is there like kind of a busy season for H2Bs? Is it more of a summer thing? Or is it kind of all year based on like, obviously you mentioned ski resorts are big in the winter. Like, does it kind of flow through the year?
The process is year round. You have to apply in certain
Hmm.
times of the year to get your workers for when you need them.
Yeah.
You have to, submit paperwork to multiple agencies. It's a very tedious process. So I think summer and winter, the shoulder seasons are fine, but summer and winter are peak
Hmm.
seasons for the users.
So then probably more of an issue than if the shutdown lingers on for a significant period of time then.
Absolutely. Especially for our summer folks.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I derailed. You were answering what the big issues the hotel industry is facing right now. I didn't want to lose momentum with that answer.
No problem. We've been advocating for the per diem rate.
Hmm.
So many organizations use the per diem rate. So while
Yeah.
government's not traveling, maybe corporations use the per diem rate, and a lot of our members rely on that. So we work hard to increase um, that for our members. And there are a lot of things that have been happening that have been detrimental to the industry. For
Hmm.
example, the furniture tariffs. We are the
Yeah.
largest purchaser of furniture. I mean, that would be devastating for our members to have to pay so much more in furniture because of the tariffs.
Yeah. And, I spoke to industry consultant who focuses on, procurement and FF&E heavily. And he's saying that, the last year has basically been the craziest, busiest period of his, his, professional life. So I imagine that it would be nice to get a little more stability on that front.
Yeah, the uncertainty is really alarming and concerning for our members. What's going to happen today? They don't know.
Hmm. Yeah. And this is not a business. I mean, no business loves uncertainty, but this is not a business that takes well to it, especially since, as you were saying, consumer sentiment plays into us on a beyond the, actual dollars and cents.
Yeah.
So anything else you want to talk about, Ashley? Anything we haven't touched on? Obviously a big topic.
No, I love supporting H2Bs in the hotel industry, and I'm going to do everything I can to get permanent cap relief. I want an amazing experience when I'm traveling,
Hmm.
and our members want to keep their 5-star and Forbes list rankings, and so they are relying on H2Bs. So I'm just hopeful that we can get a permanent fix.
Yeah, especially in an era like this where guest experience is it's so much more of a focus than it really ever has been. You can't really hide periods of kind of lapses in guest experience. It is there's serious long-term business implications for just not being able to staff up your hotel.
Especially in our very digital world, people are very quick to tweet and complain and Yelp and do
Hmm.
all these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ashley, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I mean, I wouldn't want to deal with the chaos of your job these days. So I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
finding time for us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Davon Reed.
I'm Omari Head.
And I'm Chris Henry.
We're the hosts of the Next Gen in Lodging podcast. It's a monthly show in which we interview a new generation of hoteliers to get their insights into a variety of disciplines and topics, from finance to food and beverage and hotel operations. Listen to us on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode of the CoStar News Hotels podcast was recorded on October 2nd, 2025 and edited by me, Sean McCracken. Visit costar.com/hotel news for more.